Elon Musk just launched a controversial new Starlink satellite. The satellite was supposed to be launched on Monday, but it was pushed back a day. This is because SpaceX had to wait for regulatory approval from the FCC. This has happened before, but this time around there's more at stake, because this new Starlink satellite has a top-secret purpose that no one knew about until now. In fact, some say that this new launch is part of Elon's plan to take control of the entire internet in space. But how? And why? What did Elon Musk do that's so controversial? Well, let's start at the beginning. In May 2019, SpaceX launched their first batch of Starlink satellites into orbit. These are small satellites that provide fast, cheap internet access to even the most remote parts of our planet. The goal of this project is to make internet access available to everyone, regardless of where they live or how much money they have. As of April 2023, Starlink had around 400,000 users with locations spread across 40 countries. And according to the latest news, the network is now working well enough that SpaceX is ready to expand it. On May 2nd, SpaceX sent a Falcon 9 rocket into the air. On board were 54 new Starlink satellites. They were launched from the SpaceX facility in Florida called LC-40. The rocket lifted off at precisely 8:27 p.m. Eastern Time. Once the rocket cleared the tower, the booster began its journey back to Earth. It performed a boost backburn and headed towards the Atlantic Ocean, where it performed a successful landing. Meanwhile, the 54 satellites were deployed over the next few hours. But this launch was not like any other. You see, recently the FCC changed the rules. Now, before a satellite can be launched, it needs approval. SpaceX had to wait an extra day because they needed the FCC to sign off on these particular satellites. And even then, they only gave SpaceX temporary approval. The real reason that the FCC stepped in is because these 54 satellites were part of an experimental program. It's something that SpaceX hasn't done before, so the FCC wanted to keep a close eye on what happens when they're up there. There are several things that make this group of satellites unique. First, there are two experimental frequencies being used. SpaceX has been granted permission to operate on both the Ku-band and the K-band. These are higher frequency bands than the ones usually used by Starlink satellites. Second, all 54 satellites are in the same orbit. This makes them a constellation, which means that they can communicate with each other. Third, these satellites have ground stations on almost every continent on Earth. This will allow SpaceX to test global communications between the satellites without needing to rely on ground stations. And fourth, these satellites have laser-based interconnects. This is something that SpaceX has been testing out for a while, but now they're going all in. Every single satellite has laser communication equipment. The goal is to replace the need for ground stations altogether. The satellites will be able to communicate with each other and relay messages across the globe without needing a connection back to Earth. Now, all of this could be just another step in SpaceX's mission to provide fast internet to every corner of our planet. But some say that this launch was part of Elon Musk's secret plan to take control of the internet in space. Now, we know that Elon Musk is a man on a mission. He wants to go to Mars, and he wants to help preserve humanity. But he also knows that we're incredibly dependent on our communication networks here on Earth. Sure, if the grid went down, we could get by. But it would be hard. A lot of people would die. We don't have the supplies or infrastructure to support billions of people living without electricity and modern conveniences. But what if something happened to our planet? What if an asteroid struck it, or a supervolcano erupted, or the sun decided to go supernova? Would humanity still survive? Well, that's the question that's keeping Elon Musk up at night. And that's why he's investing so much time and energy into the Starlink project. Right now, SpaceX has more than 4,000 satellites in orbit. If the company gets approval to launch the next batch of 54, they'll have more than 40 and 50 satellites in orbit, and eventually there will be tens of thousands of Starlink satellites up there. That will give us a huge advantage in the event that something horrible happens to Earth. Let's say that our planet gets hit by a large asteroid. In that case, a lot of our infrastructure would be destroyed. But assuming there are still human survivors, they could use Starlink to communicate with each other and coordinate a response. Or maybe our sun goes supernova. That would destroy everything on the surface of our planet. But if we had a base on Mars and a network of Starlink satellites orbiting the red planet, we could use those to communicate back and forth. So even if Earth was destroyed, life could continue on Mars. Of course, right now, that's all just a theory. But Elon Musk doesn't like to put all of his eggs in one basket. So he's always trying to develop backup plans. And that brings us back to these 54 Starlink satellites that were just launched into space. When combined with the existing network, these satellites will allow Elon Musk to do something he's never been able to do before. He can send a message from one Starlink satellite to another without using a ground station. The laser-based communication systems should be fast and reliable enough that they can be used around the world. And once that capability is proven, Elon Musk will be unstoppable. Starlink is already a massive success. They have tens of thousands of customers who depend on the service to connect to the internet. But once this new system of 54 satellites is fully integrated into the network, it will become clear that Starlink isn't just an internet provider. They are the backbone of a new space-based communication network that could very well change the future of our species. And if you think that sounds exciting, just wait until you hear about what's coming next. Right now, Starlink is restricted to operating within our planet's atmosphere, but Elon Musk is already looking beyond that. His next big project is called Project Tara. That's short for to enable the reflector array for lightwave access to realms beyond. This is a plan to put a massive communications array into deep space. Here's the idea. Deep space is full of objects that we can use as natural reflectors, and that includes asteroids. If we placed a receiver on an asteroid, we could use its surface to bounce signals back to Earth. This would allow us to communicate with probes and satellites beyond the range of our current technology. But placing equipment on an asteroid is easier said than done. Luckily, SpaceX has been hard at work developing a new type of spacecraft that could be perfectly suited for the job. It's called the Starship, and it's a gigantic reusable rocket. With the Starship, SpaceX will be able to carry more weight into orbit at a cheaper price, and that means they can deploy more equipment into space. With the help of this rocket, SpaceX could send out robotic probes that would attach themselves to asteroids and set up shop. Then, Starlink could use their satellite network to communicate with these probes and relay messages from deep space back to Earth. And vice versa, they could send messages from Earth to deep space through these probes. Once this system is developed, the possibilities are really endless. We might find evidence of alien life out there or detect signs that a killer asteroid is hurtling towards our planet. Either way, it's clear that Starlink's role in society is going to grow significantly in the next few years. And that means Elon Musk's plans for the future of our species are coming together. Right now, he's got Starlink satellites orbiting our planet. And soon, they'll be able to communicate with each other without the need for ground stations. That will make Starlink resilient to attacks and natural disasters. Then, he's got the Starship rocket, which will allow him to explore deep space and establish communication networks beyond our solar system. Between these two projects alone, Elon Musk is changing the future of humanity. Some say he's become too powerful and that he could eventually control the entire internet in space. Now, that may sound far-fetched, but there are definitely some worrying signs, like the fact that Elon Musk was given special permission to launch these 54 satellites. The FCC made an exception for SpaceX without giving us any details about why. It's not normal for them to bend the rules like that. Maybe they knew that Elon Musk would use these satellites for something else. Maybe they were in on his plan to control the internet in space. So the question is, what should we do about it? Should we trust Elon Musk with all this power, or do we need to put a stop to his plans? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you liked the video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more. This was Adam, and you've been watching your channel, Valley of Knowledge. Stay curious, and see you in the next one.